Okay. So we had come to a halt at biomes. Now we all know what biomes are. We just have a brief idea about what biomes are. So biomes are the living landscapes of the earth. Those zones of the earth where a specific environment is created because of the biotic and the abiotic components. Whatever is living and whatever is non-living together defines the biome. For that matter, any part on this earth is defined by its biotic and abiotic component. Okay, yes. So as you can see in the picture, the biomes are precisely very specific in terms of the climatic conditions, the flora, that is the plants, and the fauna, which is the animals, right? Okay. And these biomes actually make up the entire earth. Now, why is it so that these biomes have been created? What is the reason for these biomes to come into existence? Let's go briefly into the functionality part of the earth. Now, we all know that the earth rotates around itself, and as it rotates around itself, it is also revolving around the sun. So the tilt of this axis, the earth is not straight vertically, it's slightly tilt. And because of this tilt of its axis, it leads to seasons. There are seasons that are formed on this earth. The seasons with annual variation, changes, diversification in the precipitation level. This precipitation component keep which leads eventually to formation of humidity factor also. जो पानी आता है rain का, which is precipitation in the form of rain or snow, leads to formation of major biomes of this earth. So these biomes that are formed are because of these factors that, and one of them majorly is the rain and the snow that comes. So we have desert biome, we have rainforest biome, we have grasslands, we have tundra. These biomes that are there, if you try to study each one of them, has its own specification. एक डेजर्ट का सेटअप अलग है, एक अमेज़न रेन फॉरेस्ट का, एवरग्रीन रेन फॉरेस्ट का सेटअप अलग है, एक ग्रासलैंड का सेटअप टोटली अलग है. अगर ग्रासलैंड आप देख लो तो वहां पे जो डोमिनेटिंग एनिमल्स है, they have their own characteristic features. Ecosystem is precisely different. Tundra region has its own characteristic features. And because of this, you see there is a demarcation. There is a specific zone which leads to formation of biomes. Regional and local variations with each biome will lead eventually to formation of various habitats, obviously. आज मैं यहाँ पे मुंबई में हूँ. My lifestyle is quite different from how it would have been if it would be in my hometown. My hometown has a much bigger house. My hometown has much more space. So I am on a daily basis walking a lot in that area as compared to my house today, which is giving me restricted usage in a Mumbai city. This is exactly what it means by the habitats and its usage. If we have a particular habitat, so is the usage of an environment. अगर आप एक एनिमल को, से लेपर्ड को, से हाइना को अगर आप confined zones में रखोगे, and in comparison to it, you study the animal in its own habitat, there is a vast difference, is what it is trying to say. There are also extreme conditions on this earth, and these conditions, in the form of climatic factors, are responsible for the climate of that area. Say, for example, let's try to understand the beautiful city of Rajasthan, which is very well known for its scorching conditions. So, there is so much of heat, or perpetually rain soaked forest of the northern states like Meghalaya, Mizoram. Cherrapunji, which receives the highest rainfall. The conditions over there are very diversified from the other areas which do not receive as much rain in comparison, or which receives very little rain, or the arid deserts which have no rain at all. High mountains, if you see, which are snow clad, also have a different setup. All of this is responsible for major biomes of the earth. But if we want to study biomes on a broader scale, we can study them depending on the temperature and the precipitation. You can very clearly see here. And what do you see? You see that as there is increase in precipitation and we are measuring it against the temperature, there is formation of specific biomes like desert, which has very higher temperature and lesser precipitation. As the precipitation increases and the temperature remains low, there is tundra region. Then as the precipitation increases and the temperature is mediocre, there is coniferous forests. As the temperature increases and the precipitation is medium, there is grasslands or the savannas. And finally, when the temperature is strong enough for the light to penetrate deep down, and there is also maximum precipitation because of the rain, there are these tropical evergreen forests. And that is how the world overall globally is bifurcated because of the temperature and because of the annual precipitation. Yearly उसको कितना rainfall मिलता है, ये factor बहुत सारी चीजें decide करता है. So, what are these things that make up the habitat of an organism? These are the physiochemical components, the components that make up actually the physiological factors, the chemical factors. वहाँ पे sun आएगा, soil आएगा, water आएगा, terrains आएगा, altitude आएगा. ये सारी चीजें जो है वो decide करती है. If you get an Arctic cat, which looks almost similar to a miniature tiger with a long tail. That tail helps the cat, which is a bushy tail, to balance its body. अगर Arctic cat को वहां से उठा के तुम यहाँ पे रख दोगे, it might live, but it will not well adapt because that is not its habitat. The polar bear, the penguins today, which we have in the Baikala Zoo, they might adapt, but they will be able to function to its best ability only in their own habitat. If you want to see an animal with its own beauty, you have to make sure that you have to keep them in their habitat. Don't you also like to do the things that you like to do? And see your behavior in an environment where you are not quite happy about doing something that you don't like. Exactly is what this chapter is trying to tell us, that an habitat defines the organism. अगर उसका जो habitat जैसे रहेगा, for example, I'll give you a fantastic example. You know the Shanghai deer, also called as a dancing deer. They are there in the muddy, mucky waters of West Bengal. And they were brought from that to a zoo. Whenever these deers were in the mucky waters of West Bengal, they are called as dancing deers. They are called as dancing deers because they always keep dancing. You feel like they are dancing, one toe, the other toe. And when they were brought to the zoo and they were kept in captivity, these deers just stopped dancing. So the curator of the zoo was very surprised as to why the deers were not dancing. And the curator's son was very, very sad with this idea of the deers not doing the usual dance. So now the curator and the curator's son decided to find out the story. So they went to an expert. And that is when they came to know that these deers, which are called as the dancing deers, were able to dance because they were trying to balance themselves in the mucky, muddy waters of the estuaries. Estuaries matlab river beds. तो वो जो रिवर बेड्स थे वहां पे दे हैड टू मेंटेन देयर बैलेंस, अदरवाइज दे वुड जस्ट टिप एंड फॉल इनटू द वाटर, एंड दैट हैबिटेट they did not get in a captive environment. There was no need, and that is why the deers didn't appear to be dancing, when in actual fact basis, the deers were not doing any kind of dance, but they were trying to just balance. That is the beauty of each organism. If you want to see what the polar bear is capable of doing, you have to put it in a polar environment, in an Arctic environment, in an environment which has cold, extreme cold. Now, why is there a need for us to understand this? Imagine every year there are glaciers that are melting. And because of the melting of the glaciers, the polar bear now has to move from one glacier to another. And if it has to do this, it has to cover a large water body, because of which the polar bear is now getting exhausted. And life for the polar bear is becoming difficult. So, what means here is that we are trying to disrupt their habitats because of the global warming. Just to give you an example. Along with this, इतना ही नहीं, उसके खाने का भी तो इंतजाम होना चाहिए. So then there is a need for biotic components also. वहां पे plants होने चाहिए, pathogens होने चाहिए, parasites होने चाहिए, predators भी होने चाहिए, life cycle complete होना चाहिए. So all these are responsible for the setup of an organism. Over a period of time, we have already studied this, natural selections will lead to evolution in adaptations, and that will optimize, that will help to bring out the best survival mechanisms and reproduction techniques in its habitat. We have already seen this, so we are not going to discuss this in detail. Okay, all right. Now, there are various branches of that you need to study in organisms and environment. One is ethology and one is ecology, bionomics, environmental biology, biosphere. So these are terms that you need to study. I would like all of you all to please refer to page number 294. The first definition, the ethology of for ethology, which was coined, means used, this word was used by Hilaire in the year 1854, quite ancient, but was popularized by Wheeler. This term is used to study the behavior of animals in relation to an environment. I'll give you a better definition. It is the mechanisms that an animal follows in relation to an environment. How the animal behaves in a particular environment and the association or the dependency that it has is ethology. Ethos means the environment here. Logy means the study. What is ecology? Now, what do you mean by ecology? Eco means home. Economics means managing a home. Ecology is study of the home. The term was introduced again by Haeckel, is considered as the father of ecology for the relationships of animals and plants and their surroundings. So what is ecology? Ecology is study of home, where you are going to study the biotic components, which is the living organisms, the abiotic components, the non-living organisms, and their relationships. So how a frog lives its life cycles, and eventually once it dies, it is eaten by pathogens or microorganisms, is what ecology will help you understand. What is bionomics? It is the term which is used by Lancaster for the study of relationships, again, between organisms and environment. So what is the difference now here between the three? In bionomics here, you are studying the data also. Environmental biology, I need not discuss about this. Bio, which means life, logy, which means study. Study of environmental life is environmental biology. And what is biosphere? Biosphere is all the ecosystems on the earth which together contribute in the functioning of this globe. So all the green zone and the non-green zone and the water body together, which is responsible for life on this earth, is biosphere. Okay, now this is one thing that we need to spend a bit of time. It's a bit of what do we say, abstract concept. There are two words that are given in your textbook. One is habitat, another one is niche. What is a niche? Before that, let me just talk about what is a habitat. What is a habitat? A habitat is a place where an individual organism feels comfortable, starts living, and propagates, which means reproduces. So, this is a place or a setup of environmental conditions which help the organism to adapt, to modify its behavior, and because of which, once it adapts to it, it can survive and it can prosper, it can reproduce. The term habitat is of great significance in studying organisms because it is a place or area where a particular species will live. Many factors are responsible for helping an individual to adapt to a habitat, which is sunlight, rainfall, temperatures, type of the soil, abiotic factors like the topography, the terrain, if there are mountains, if there are deserts, if there is a water body, if there is a marine or a freshwater body, that also makes a difference. These factors will help in determining the presence or the absence or the overall number of a particular species in an environment. Pond, river, oceans are examples of habitat depend on which we can conclude that the fishes that are found in a pond are a bit different from the ones found in river and very much different from the ones found in oceans. And that is how habitat defines the structure or variation of living organisms. These habitats could also be arboreal, which is living on trees, terrestrial, living on land, aerial, in air, aquatic, in water, the immediate surroundings of an organism, sometimes also referred as the word used is microhabitat, is responsible for the functioning of a habitat, for the working of an habitat. Okay, yes, is that clear? So, habitat is defined as the physical space in which an organism lives with other organisms, and not only other organisms but also other non-living components. In colloquial language, this is a textbook word. What do you mean by colloquial language? If, but, then. A habitat is a postal address, whereas a niche is a profession of an organism. I'm concluding the habitat part with this line once again. In colloquial language, a habitat is a postal language, while a niche is a profession of an organism. So अगर habitat हमें बताता है कि एक organism कहाँ मिलेगा, तो niche हमें बताएगा कि वो organism क्या क्या करेगा. What all it is capable of doing is well explained with the concept of niche. Now let me try to just take a minute break. Much, and I don't want you all to get bored. Okay, please unmute yourselves, and I want people who never answer in the class to, those usual girls are not going to actually talk. So Humaira, Amiti is exempted for the next 3 minutes. I have only 3 minutes. Any other person in the class who would like to comment about any one thing that you have studied so far in the lecture? Any other girl? Girls, we don't have much time. Anybody who would like to say anything?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Who's this?
Zenat.
Yes, Zinat, bolo.
Yes, ma'am. So far we studied the um, biome and which is
Zinat, there is a lot of disturbance, beta. Just be a little more louder. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me right?
Yes, hello. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, bolo beta.
So we studied, now we started with the definition with ethology, ecology, bionomics and all. And then we started with habitat. So
Correct. That's
uh,
correct.
yeah, so we are going to further study more about habitat and niche. So now we studied what habitat is exactly. It's a place where or a set of environment where organism adapt to the surrounding as well, and they reproduce there, and it is a very comfortable place for them. So we studied till then, and then a lot of in detail also, that
Great.
habitats can
Very
be
nice.
pond, river, ocean, aerial, terrestrial.
Fantastic. Excellent. Very nice. Very nice. Anybody else? There are so many people here. There is Nafisa, Alia, Asta, Atmaja never speaks anything in my
Ma'am,
class. Atmaja, are you there?
yes, ma'am.
Atmaja, are
Yes,
you
ma'am.
not fond of my lectures? Are you not liking my lectures? Why
No,
are
ma'am.
you so quiet in my class? Ah, now you're smiling. See, again, she's put herself on mute. Just see. Yes, Atmaja, what is it that you have learned so far in the lecture?
Ma'am, it's a different. It's about.
Arey, you are
Hello.
struggling. It's so hard to believe. Yes, tell me.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it is about the environment, which is actually I don't know.
I don't know. Are
Miss,
you're there, no, with us? You're there
miss,
with us, no?
yes, ma'am.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
समझ में आता है ना? You are able to understand, no, whatever is happening.
Miss, able to understand.
Great. Okay, fine. So next time you please be ready with an answer. Okay, I'll pick you up. You'll be the first one now on the radar. Remember that. Okay, yes. Nafisa wants to say something.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
हाँ बोलो बेटा.
We say that the characteristic of an animal changes with their habitat.
Characteristic of an animal changes with its habitat. Could you just change it a bit? Can I just rearrange this concept and say that the characteristics of an animal are very much well aligned with the habitat? Does that make more sense? कि जो habitat है उस हिसाब से उसका characteristics होता है. Savannas में there is leopard, so the leopard will want to really move at a very fast rate because of the long grasslands. तो डियर भागेगा उसके पीछे लेपर्ड भागेगा, उसको जगह ही नहीं है रुकने के लिए क्योंकि पूरा ग्रास से भरा है. यू अंडरस्टैंड?
Yes, ma'am.
In
Yes, ma'am. So,
comparison to
like,
this, in comparison to this, if I can just finish, if comparison to this, if you see a tropical forest, अगर leopard को भागना होता वहां पे तो बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ती है, उसको बीच में ब्रेक्स लगाने हैं all the time. You understand? So that is the importance of habitat. उसका characteristic feature ऐसा बना है कि उसको अगर savannas में डाल दो तुम तो उसके तो मजे ही मजे है. You understand what I'm trying to say?
yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yeah,
just like
great.
that Asian and African elephant, they're different because of their habitat.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So you are quite paying attention to what we have been doing so far. Very nice. Thank you, Nafisa. Okay, who else? Aline, I've never heard you. Aisha, Alia, all the other girls. Arva, Asia, Dwiti, you've been quiet, beta. Ishika,
Yes, ma'am.
Ishia, Isha. There are so many girls in my class, and why are they not saying anything? I will give you exactly 5 seconds. If anybody wants to say anything, or else we continue. Is there anybody? Girls, you have to make sure. I have told you this is a brain activity. You have to speak to make sure that your brain remains in the focus. This is a bit challenging. All right. We will continue with our class. So we will start on with the next concept of niche. Everybody is clear with this? Please mute yourselves, girls, all of you. Please mute yourselves, everyone. Okay. Now that we have understood habitat, let us try to understand what is a niche. Each species occupies a niche in the community. So, suno, a niche is the role the species plays and includes the type of food it eats, where it lives, where it reproduces, and its relationship with other species. Let's try to understand one more time. Each species occupies a niche in the community. यानी कि niche जो word है, it is in relation to the place that a particular organism has in a community. Let's take into consideration my little sparrow, which is there in a big community or an ecosystem in Mumbai. If I have to talk about the niche of this sparrow, it will include the role or the life that this sparrow lives, which will include the food that it eats, where it lives, whom it meets up, how it continues with its day, what are the reproductive techniques, the seasons that it uses, its relationship with other species, which kind of worms it eats, which other birds it is ally with or foes with. All of this you will see in a niche. So, in layman's language, in a language that can be well understood by you and me, what is a niche? A niche is the place that an organism occupies. I will give you an example. What is the niche of your mother in your family? There may be so many thoughts waving in your head now. She's doing cooking, she's doing cleaning, she's doing managing the house, she's doing the funding part also. Some of them are working, managing the money matters, then also taking care of your recreation activities, किसी के घर जाना हो, all of that your mother is doing. So the profession that your mother actually carries out, which is not just the professional life, in totality, all that your mother is capable of doing on a day-to-day basis decides the niche of your mother in your home setup. Similarly, this sparrow that you see is capable of doing so many things. It feeds in the middle part of the tree. It feeds at the tip of the branches near the top, feeds in the lower parts of the tree. So each of these sparrows, which are of three different types, belong to a specific niche from where it has its deep roots of connectivity. हर एक organism, any organism be on it on this earth, it is having its own niche, and no two organisms belong to the same niche. They may come in contact with each other. They may have a common zone, a marcation. इधर इसका है जगह, followed by this, followed by this. So there is somewhere a peripheral boundary that keeps these organisms. Try to understand the ecological niche of these birds. The flamingos, the ducks, the avocets, the oyster catchers, and the plovers, all of which, how they are restricted to their own niche for their food intake. The flamingos now here feed on the molluscans and the crustaceans and the vegetable matter which is right at the base. Here the ducks are dabbing themselves inside, and because of this, they are just pecking in on the snails and the seeds and the insects. The avocets are feeding on the insects which might also be there on the surface. The oyster catchers have the ability to break the oysters and eat them, and the plovers are seen on the beaches. So each of the organisms, in spite of living in an ecosystem which is connected, each organism has their own niche. And this is the beauty of each organism on this earth. That is why we say the divine energy, the Almighty God or the Creator has made everything beautiful. If we cannot create something as beautiful as what He has done, we might as well not spoil it. We might as well learn to take at least care of it, manage it. That's the reason, that's the point where we come into sustainability. We sustain means give and take. हम कुछ environment से लेंगे, लेकिन we will also make sure that we maintain it. That is why the term habitat and niche. One second, boys. So this is all that we have seen. So now there is this, I have taken this from the textbook. This is cut copy paste from the textbook. So you can just go through this when you get time. It's on page number 294. What is a habitat? What is a niche? It's very simple to understand. Habitat is an area where a species lives, and interacts with other factors. A niche is an ideology. कि वो क्या क्या capable है करने का? What is it that he can reach within his boundary? I hope I am clear with this concept of what is a habitat and what is a niche. Okay, any questions that you have, please type it in the comment box and I will try to answer, right? Yes. So this term niche describes the position of a species in the environment, how they fulfill their needs of shelter, food, how the energy flows from one organism to another. And that is why if we are studying organisms and populations, it is very important for us to study the niche. In your textbook, they have given three types of niches. The first niche that they have given is the spatial or habitat niche. Very simple to understand. What is a habitat niche? The actual physical space, हमारा घर, जहाँ पे हम रहते हैं, is your spatial, which means the space that we use is the spatial niche. Second one is the multi-dimensional or the hyper-volume niche. Now, in this multi-dimensional, please refer to page 295 in your textbook. It's very, very brief. I didn't want to include it in the slide. Now, this multi-dimensional or the hyper-volume niche slight different है from the spatial niche. Before that, there is trophic niche. Trophic niche, we all know trophic levels. That is when energy flows from one level to another. अगर producers है, तो producers को deer खाएगा. Deer है, deer को lion खाएगा. Lion will eventually die, and scavengers, vultures may eat it. And the vultures, when they die, they will be eaten by the predator, by the microorganism. तो वो जो describe करता है organisms को जो हर एक लेवल पे होते हैं, that is trophic niche. अगर producers का niche पूछा जाए, which is where do the plants stand? Obviously, they stand at the base, they stand at the grassroots level, and hence they are considered as the most strongest because on them the entire energy flow, the entire trophic level mechanism works. Multidimensional, it considers various environmental factors. कौन से environmental factors? Biotic factors है, abiotic factors है. Resulting the space will be hyper volume. I'll explain what this is. Not something that can be perceived by a human mind. This space is called as hyper volume niche. The position of an organism in environmental gradient. I will explain this. Understand only one thing. We are very well aware with the fact that lions generally enjoy eating herbivorous animals, deer, for example. But have you seen any videos, and this is an assignment for you, that Though the lion may be fond of herbivore animals, say for example a deer, are you also aware of the behaviors that a male lion shows if there is no other female lion in the premises except for a female lion with her babies? Do you know that the male lion may try to eliminate the babies by killing them so that he can have his own family? Such behaviors, though not common, are seen and documented by various people, and such documentaries are easily available. So your assignment for today is, if you come across some documentary, please forward the link of this documentary showing weird behaviors. Not just that, you must have also seen on WhatsApp videos a unique, rare friendship that is not actually possible, that is seen between a lion and a deer. You have seen definitely such videos, or a lion and a human. All these come into the multi-dimensional or hyper volume niche, which is beyond our comprehension of a human mind. We cannot understand how these things can happen, but yes, they are happening. Okay, yes, here, what is fundamental niche? It is the niche in the absence of any competitors, computer, I'm saying, any competitor. So there is no struggle. I am living all by myself and I am the only lion. And what I do is, because I do not see any other lions, I can thrive on all the animals that are there in the jungle. You must have heard stories like this. There was a poor old lion living in the cave, and then he would call all the animals every day to come and meet him. And then one fine day, the rabbit tried to uh, think of an idea, and then the story goes on. I'm sure you must be knowing about this story. So this is a fundamental niche where there is fundamental is basic. There is only one organism, and that is why it is at its own benefit. It does not have to face the competition. So all of this you can see in the environment. Different niches are seen in the environment, and thereby we will probably come to an end today with today's lecture, because the next concept that we are trying to see is again a very general one, which is major abiotic factors, and which I will be doing in my next lecture. On that note, we shall end today's lecture.